Welcome you all in this industrial session of ICRTH 2022 on the theme Youth Empowerment. Young people have been architect in its development and continue to be engaged in the framework and process that supports its implementation. Welcome you all once again in this session, and we have three panel speakers with us. Ms. Mandy Shenwai Singh, the second panel speaker with us, Ms. Mona Ji Huan Yang, and third panel speaker, Ms. Natalia Bayona. The session chair of the session Youth Empowerment are me, Dr. Soni, and Mr. Vyasna. Welcome you again in this session of Youth Empowerment. Our first speaker is Ms. Mona Yang, who is Associate Lecturer, Griffith University, Australia. She will talk on the topic of sustainable tourism for host children, empowering children through digital entrepreneurship. Her topic is sustainable tourism for host children, empowering children through digital entrepreneurship. May I request Ms. Mona Yang to continue with her presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Soni. So, hi everyone, I am Mona Yang, a researcher specializing in sustainable tourism and child rights. Before I start my presentation, can you have a look at this picture? This is the picture that I took near the Angkor Wat in Cambodia a couple of years ago. What thoughts comes to in your mind? Do you think they are pity or are you proud of them? Today, my presentation is about these children who are formally and informally engaged in tourism by selling souvenirs, performing dances, begging tourists for money, and living in a slum tourism destination. This is the story about host children. Taking this opportunity, let me share my insight into sustainable tourism for host children, empowering them through digital entrepreneurship with you. Tourism is a double-edged sword. While tourism generates positive economic, social, and environmental impacts, it is inevitable to have negative consequences, including violating residents' rights. Consequently, Global Code of Ethics for Tourism, which was converted to UNWTO Convention, stated that tourism activities should promote human rights of the most vulnerable group, especially children. As a way to protect children, especially children engaged in economic activities, UN set a sustainable development goal to eradicate all forms of child labor by 2025. Based on the Global Code of Ethics for Tourism article and UNSDG, a question raised in my mind. Is banning all forms of children's engagement in tourism the best approach to promote host children's rights? In other words, is banning all forms of children's engagement in tourism the best approach to the sustainable tourism development? To answer the question, let me share 3 steps to protect host children for sustainable tourism development. The first step, what do we have to do first to promote host children's rights? We needed to know how and why children are engaged in tourism. So the first step is researching their lives. We needed to investigate how tourism impacts host children's quality of life and understand why host children are engaged in tourism. So to protect host children and promote their rights, I conducted research exploring their perception of tourism impacts on their lives. How? From their perspective. This is the second step to protect host children. We needed to listen to host children's own voices to explore and understand their lives. Perhaps some of you think that, why we need to listen to their voices? Adults can represent the children. Here's the reason why listening to host children's own voices is important. First, children are more vulnerable to the external impacts such as poverty than adults. Furthermore, children are exposed to risk from adults who are already stressed out from the external impacts. Secondly, children have a different perception and values from adults. For example, one study found out that while others think education is the most important value in children's life, children think their pet, dog, and cats is the most important thing for their lives. Lastly, while many of you may think children are immature to express their thoughts and opinion for research, actually, many studies have proved that children have a capability to express their thoughts. Then, how can you listen to children's voices? One of my suggestions is using visual research method. Visual research methods means literally research methods using visual aids, such as photography, puppet show, drawings, and Legos. The visual research methods are beneficial as it allows more holistic depiction regarding children's perception of space, time, and identity, and it gives more time to reflect their response, and it helps to discover their subconscious feelings. Furthermore, this innovative method reduces power distance between adult researcher and child participants. So for my research, I use the visual research methods to listen to host children's voices. My research was conducted in Cambodia with 62 Cambodian host children within NGOs who were engaged in volunteerism, performed traditional dances for tourists, and worked at restaurants. And also it involved 32 Cambodian host children on the street, including child vendors, boat drivers, restaurant worker, child beggar, and children living in a slum tourism destination. With the children, I used the drawings and photographs in addition to traditional qualitative methods, including group interviews and observation. As a result, my research identified that children perceive tourism impacts over the 5 life domains. The first domain is a material life. As you can see from the drawing that children are receiving donation from the tourist. So the children are highly financially and materially rely on tourism. Secondly, children perceive tourism as an opportunity to get education. Many children thought that they can go to the school thanks to tourist donation. Also, many children state that interacting with tourists improve their language skill as well. Tourism impact host children's culture, pride, and ego as well. While many children state that tourism instills their culture pride, some children express uncomfortable feeling toward the tourists regarding their culture. For example, this girl the girl who drew this one explained that she was uncomfortable with a tourist wearing a skimpy clothes. And she added a comment saying that tourists needed to respect the local culture. Another domain is a social interaction. As you can see from this drawing, many children felt beloved while interacting with tourists. In the same vein, some children felt hurt when tourists did not interact with them in a nice way. The last domain is health and safety. Many children felt not safe when strangers, the tourists, take their pictures without their permission. They worry that their picture might be used for online pornography. Similarly, I met a girl living in a slum tourism destination, and I asked how she thought about tourists. And she said, "I don't want to be raped." The girl was only 6 years old. This 6-year-old girl didn't want to be raped by tourists. As you've heard my story, tourism actually provides both positive and negative impacts across the 5 life domains. However, interestingly, all children perceive that tourism has improved their quality of life, and they wanted more tourists to visit their village despite the obvious negative impacts. Why? Why children advocate their engagement in tourism, although they have faced several negative impacts? The hints lie in host-guest relationship and social norms in Cambodia. Firstly, I identified that there is strong power distance between children and tourists regarding wealth gaps. According to literature, the tiny person in the drawing refers the feeling of inferiority, as you can see here. Children drew themselves way simpler with only a few lines compared to the tourist. It shows that they feel incompetent, shame, fear, and depressive. There are other several psychological elements showing the power distance as well. For example, big eyes of tourist, deletion of hands, and long neck. Those elements shows that how children unconsciously place themselves inferior than tourists. Also, the girl who drew the left drawing explained that this lady is rich, but I'm just a trainee. And another child said that rich tourists are good people, but stingy tourists are bad people. This unfair power distance pushes children to sacrifice their time and energy to please tourists, and I call it unhealthy relationship. This unhealthy relationship explains why children believe that tourism has improved their quality of life despite the negative impacts of tourism. Secondly, children tend to engage in tourism because of social norms about child workers, which is prevalent in Cambodia. In Cambodia, while child workers are considered poor or petty, at the same time, they are also considered as a good son and daughter who are helping their family. Furthermore, due to their belief in Theravada Buddhism, children tend to strive to pay back their goodness to their parents, and financially helping their family is one way to pay back their goodness to their parents. Due to this culture, children's engagement in tourism, which is considered as a relatively light level of work, is acceptable in Cambodia. With the understanding of host children's perception of tourism impact on their lives, let's revisit this question. Is banning all forms of children's engagement in tourism the best approach to promote host children's rights? Here, let me clarify that I do not advocate children's work. However, due to the power gaps between children and tourists and the Cambodian social norms, and of course, because of the poverty, children believe that tourism improves their quality of life, and they support their engagement in tourism. So, the reckless ban of children's engagement can result in the worst outcome. Because anyway, they need the money, they need education, they want to be a good son and daughter. If their engagement in tourism is banned, they will hide and find a worse job to survive. So we needed to address child work issue gradually, not abruptly. So what should we do to gradually address the child work issue? We needed to maximize the positive impacts that children perceive and minimize negative impacts. There are multiple ways to address the child work issue, but today I want to focus on education and life skill, and that is the third step. Especially, I'd like to focus on education on digital competencies, teaching host children how to use digital in a safe way. I know that many organizations are aware of the significance of digital competence and try to teach children in developing countries Word document, PowerPoint, internet search, and so on. Interestingly, while I was conducting my research, I found that many children were aware of the importance of education. However, many poverty-stricken children could not go to the school or get education because they needed immediate compensation to survive. So today, I want to highlight that we needed to empower children by teaching high return of investment education, such as teaching children digital entrepreneurship to maximize the positive tourism impacts and minimize the negative tourism impact. Like, we may teach them how to create a business selling their craft souvenirs, sharing their vlog or their performance online, and so on. So by learning digital entrepreneurship, While children can get benefits in money, education, culture, pride, and then other positive interaction, they can reduce risk from physically interacting with the tourist. To do so, what we needed to do? Government, organization, and tourists needed to cooperate to provide digital entrepreneurship skill training. And also, we needed to develop internet infrastructure in developing countries. We needed to distribute digital devices to disadvantaged children. And the most importantly, we needed to set up safe digital places for kids by fighting against online crime and educating children about online grooming and then online scamming. Thank you for listening to how to promote hosted children's rights for sustainable tourism. If you have any interest in empowering hosted children for sustainable tourism development, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mona, for presenting such an interesting session, such an interesting and informative presentation. Kindly accept my sincere apology for not just sharing your brief profile. So since it is recorded, it can be done again. Thank you, Mona. In today's session, our second speaker is Mandy Chen Wa Zing, who is a fresh graduate taking degrees in events and tourism management. She is passionate about organizing events and had been involved both nationally and internationally since 2018. Outside of her profession, she involves herself in youth-based activities for youth empowerment, community engagement, using her knowledge in her profession. She is also a youth ambassador of Regional Center of Expertise, Kuching, an initiative by the United Nations, as well as like-minded NGO speaker, secretary, and volunteer. She will share her success stories of action done by the youth and how to be an empower youth. On the topic, Youth Be You. So we welcome you, Mandy Chen.
Thank you, Dr. Sonny. So, hi everyone, my name is Mandy, and as introduced by Dr. Sonny, I will be talking about Youth Be You. So before we start, here is a little bit something about me. I, as mentioned, am a fresh graduate in the field of event and tourism. I'm also the Youth Ambassador for Regional Center of Expertise Kuching since 2019. And currently, I'm the Secretary for Center for Responsible Borneo here in Sarawak. I am also a licensed tour guide in Sarawak as well. So talking about youth empowerment, as we search these terms on Google or other search engines, we will find that to be an empowered youth, you need to join programs, you need to make good changes, you need to empower others and also take charge of your own life. So my slide will mostly be on sharings on, success stories of the programs that I'm in before and also what we have done here in Kuching. So enjoy while I'm talking through what we have done. So first one is joining program. As mentioned, I joined this RCE Kuching, which is the Regional Center of Expertise Kuching, since I entered my university life in 2019. And it is an initiative by the United Nations to combat climate change and also working towards the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And here in Kuching, we focus on one of the goals, which is to keep the rivers clean, because the rivers are the main water source for us here in Kuching. We have activities such as we go to schools, to primary schools, to secondary schools, and we do our 5R campaign with them. 5R stands for reduce, reuse, recycle, refuse, and repurpose. We have few sessions with the school children. So each time we go, it's very, very interesting to see how they have developed from the first session to the third or the fourth session on how they are more knowledgeable about what 5R is. And we also do the Sarawak River Art competition, where we invite people to submit productions like sculptures or posters or anything that they perceive on what Sarawak River is. As you can see, we involve a lot of youth in these activities. We do booth, we set up booth to educate people on what is SDGs, what are the goals, and we also do workshops and also sharings in schools and also other university. And this is the most fun part, I can say, before COVID hit. We do beach cleanup right, I think 1 month or 2 months right before COVID hits. This is a very good way to bond with the other youth as well, while of course we talk through our experience and also clean up the beach. As mentioned, when COVID hits, we did not stop. We still going on our mission to empower people, to educate people. So we have our virtual exhibition. We do, via Zoom, via Microsoft Teams or other online platforms. We still do our river art competition. We changed it to National Ocean Virtual Art Competition because as we go online, we can invite more, national or international participants to participate in the competition. And besides joining programs, how do we empower youth is by make good changes. So this is another story that I would tell. This place is called Paku, Sarawak. It is around 40 minutes from Kuching, which is the capital city of Sarawak, Malaysia. So this place is actually at the middle point from Kuching to another small town in Sarawak. People usually just pass by this place. They don't know this place, they just drive through it. But we get to know this place when we communicate with the people there, with the community leaders there, and we go to, see this place. And the situation was very muddy. We have to work on the support of the plank walk, the board, as you can see in the pictures. And we have to, support one another by giving us wood to hold on so we don't fall into the mud. So we go back and together we brainstorm on how can we make this place better, to make this place, people will stop by before they go to the next destination. And we come up with a very little communal activity, which we call gotong royong in Malay. In English, it means like basically to clean up the places. We work with the community on a very fine Saturday or Sunday morning. The weather was very good. We cleaned up the place and we went back to Kuching, to our university, our office, to think of what we can do more. So of course, as we are far from them, what we can do is just from all the resources that we have. We have our laptop, we have the internet to help us. So we go on and design all those do's and don'ts. We design all those, historical article that people might like to read when they visit this place. And we print it out so we can put it on the place itself. Of course, with the help of the community people to do the signage as well. As you can see on the upper left, there's a photo of all the food stalls signage. So this place, there's a very small food stalls, around 10 stalls only. And we make this signage for them because they haven't have any signage of their own. So we make this for them in hope to attract people to stop by and eat something before they go, which also can, help the local community a bit in earning when they sell the food. Besides that, we also do, education training with the teachers of the place of Paku, so they can further bring it back to the schools and educate the students at the school as well. So that is where we empower the teachers to empower the students, and hopefully we can make some good changes where all the people are inclusive when we do these projects. And last but not least, this is the pictures after 6 months of developing, with the community leaders, where we do some posters or online marketing, and also some design of poster of this place, then people starts to know. So they stop by before they go to the next destination, and it become a very, a very hitty touristy place. Still, we have people to take care, so it's not vandalized by others, but it has become, it benefited the people there. The people go and eat there before they go to the next destination, and people also give donation to this place as well to further develop it. So next, how do we empower youth? Is of course by empower them. And this is one of the competition that are organized by our team here. It's called Sarawak Youth Talent, organized by all the youths here. So this 2022 is the third year this competition is being organized, where each year we invite people to submit videos or posters in accordance to the theme, and also to educate them when they, when they produce the productions. Here are some of the productions that the students have produced. Our target for this competition was the youth age 13 to 24, so mostly in secondary school and also in the university or the colleges. As you can see, when they do this poster, the content, they have to do some research, they have to do some reading to it. So by here, we already educate them and also empower them to, to spark their mind onto something. And not to forget, we, as I'm speaking now, we are the youth too. So what are youth empowerment? It is not only to give out to others, like what we do, like we join programs for the beach, for students, or we make good changes for the communities, or we empower more people, but we need to take care of our own life too. This is our world, so we need to shape it, or someone else will. I'm not teachers or doctors or anyone to, to educate you on how you should be empowered, but I will share some stories of how I feel alive as I do all the things to empower others. As my profession is in events and tourism, I love events very much. So I'm the type of person that will search for events at the place that I'm in, and I will write emails or talk with the organizers. Do you need volunteers? Or is there any way that I can help? So this is one of the largest events that Sarawak have, which is the Rainforest World Music Festival. This year, I had the chance to be the volunteer. So these are some of the photos where I get to learn on my profession while also communicating with others. And it turns out a lot of youth also, volunteer themselves in these events as well. It's very meaningful to see from different perspectives rather than being the organizer or the participants who pay money for the events itself. I also love art very much. So this is another, my approach is through events because it is my profession. So your approach could be different. So I love art, so I find events that are related to art. And this events is where, Sarawak painters from the 1950s who are still actively painting, they send their paintings to these events to be displayed and to be sold. There's also a booth of people selling Sarawak crafts, and it is just so amazing to see how people encrypt Sarawak motif into all those modernization art. And those are some of the pictures of the events. As you can see, it makes me feel empowered to, work what I love. And I love going to places and being in nature. It excites me a lot. So I took on this tour guide course for 3 months, no, for 6 months, and it cost me a fortune. I finally graduated, and so I can take people to places, and I also know how to take care of myself when I go to places alone. So this is how, I empower myself. So you can start with you. You can think about what you love, and you start from there. So what is youth empowerment? Like, for example, if you love events like me, you can start with events. If you love, music or any other field that you're in, you can start from there and just going through doing what you love in your life. And from there, we will grow through as we go through all the processes. And you should be empowered by just being you and just participating in this talk today is already a first step. So thank you for training. That's all from me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mandy. It was indeed quite interesting to see your presentation. So we have third speaker here. I welcome Ms. Natalia Beona. She leads the innovation, education, investment strategy of the World Tourist Organization, UNWTO, the United Nations Specialized Agency for the Promotion of Responsible, Sustainable, and Accessible Tourism worldwide. With a diverse background on politics, destination management, and business, she has become the first innovation director at UNWTO, has introduced entrepreneurship and education as key factors for tourism and development, and has positioned UNWTO as an innovation benchmark within the wider United Nations system, and as recognized in the UN 2020 mapping of innovation, data, and digital capacities. Furthermore, she has joined the UN Executive Leadership Program for Sustainable Development, led by the UN System Staff College, UNSSC. Today, her topic to deliver the session is Innovation, Education, and Investment for Sustainable Tourism. Here, I welcome Natalia Beona.
Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today with all of you. First of all, remember that 4 years ago, when our Secretary General Surab Pololikashvili came to the UNWTO, he decided to include innovation, technology, as part of one of his strongest pillars. Of course, today, the UNWTO has at least 5 priorities inside this house: innovation and digital transformation, education, investments, sustainability, and of course, added value jobs. Today, we would like to start this amazing conference with how these pillars can help us to create a better society, how these pillars can help us to create a better tourism sector. Why innovation is crucial? Innovation is crucial because it's the power of youth. Thanks to innovation, we have the power to give the voice to the most youngest generations that it has. Different solutions when technology is part of the new ventures. When we talk about technology, remember that the startup ecosystem is key in order to talk about a sustainable innovation. When I talk about the innovation ecosystem, I'm talking about adding value to the 6 actors of the ecosystem that are, as you know, innovators, entrepreneurs, startups, governments, institutions or accelerators, innovation labs, corporates, investors, and the academia. Without those 6 working together, it's impossible to talk about a sustainable innovation. What are we doing inside the UNWTO? As you know, we have 4 programs that we're running today: the startup competitions, the innovation challenges, the tourism tech adventures are our key innovation forums, and of course, our innovation network. Thanks to those 4 programs, we have more than 10,000 startups that have applied to our competitions from more than 150 countries. The more used technologies are based on artificial intelligence, big data analytics, digital marketing, where augmented reality, virtual reality, and Internet of Things are crucial. These technologies has been really mature. Nonetheless, we have a lot to do. From the 100 subsectors of the tourism sector, only the innovation is going to three subsectors that are mobility and transport, e-commerce, and of course hospitality. But the question is, where are the innovators in gastronomy? Where are the innovators in health? Where are the innovators in manufacturing? Remember that when you build a hotel, where you build an amusement park that is part of the touristic chain, you need manufacturing goods, you need towels, you need fruits, you need a lot of things to create a new experience. Where is the innovation when it comes to meetings, incentives, congresses, and events? We need the power of youth, of the youngest entrepreneurs, of the SMEs, and of course of the startups to create new technologies and to help us to innovate not only in these three hotspots, if I can say, that basically are 50% of the whole innovation of the tourism sector. We need to diversify a little bit more on the different subsectors in order to have a 360 integral and complete innovation. Today, innovation is a reality inside the UNWTO, and the connections has been done to create more than 100 pilot projects and more than 300 mentorship programs. In that way, we are helping the smallest to grow. So, innovation today has the challenge in not only in helping the tourism ecosystem to get more mature. The biggest challenge I see in the touristic innovation ecosystem is with the SMEs. As you know, tourism, the touristic chain is created by different actors, but 80% of those actors are small and medium enterprises. And unfortunately, during COVID times, they have received a lot of funds for surviving, not for investing in technology, not for investing on innovation. This is the moment where we need to empower the SMEs, to help them and to mind the gap in order to have a sustainable sector where everybody can use technology. That's why inside the UNWTO we created the UNWTO Digital Futures, a program that was launched during the last UNWTO General Assembly, which aim is to bring accessibility and to bring access to new technologies to the small and medium enterprises. It's really easy. You just need to go to the UNWTO website, click on the Digital Futures program. You need to enroll and to fill a form, and then we will, thanks to the partnership with MasterCard, we will be able to connect and to give you a personal assessment on where is your SME, where are your gaps, and what do you need to fill those gaps. When it comes to education, I am really passionate on this matter, and more than passionate, maybe, it's my obsession. Why? As you know, tourism is the most important employer of youth and of women. But remember that 50% of youth working in tourism only have secondary skills. And 50% of youth desire to become an entrepreneur in the mid-future. So if we want to do things great, whatever we invest in education is a small amount compared with the impact of helping others to grow. Again, youth is part of this priority inside the UNWTO. Education. What do we offer in terms of education? As you know, the education system has been experiencing a revolution thanks to COVID-19. So today, our strongest platform to train people is the UNWTO Tourism Online Academy, a place where top universities all around the world has been partnering with the UNWTO to upload massive online open courses and online certificate programs in order to scale up the way people are educated and to give access to the most vulnerable people that don't have the possibility to study tourism. I have here to thank to all the colleagues from Cornell, from IE University, from Le Roche, Lyon, École Ducasse, PolyU from Hong Kong, Externado de Colombia, Universidad Católica de Chile, Swiss Education Group, among others. We have been partnering with the top league in terms of education to make education not only easier, but also to have added value content for everyone. Then, second part of our story, everything cannot be just online. So our second service is related to offline education. And when I talk about offline education, here is crucial what I'm going to say. 80% of the potential careers in tourism are only focused in hotel administration. That cannot be possible. As I already said before, tourism sector is created thanks to the power of 100 subsectors. So we need to create and to update the curricula. We need to create a policy and public policies where tourism is part of the development on every single country. If we want to create touristic destinations, if you want to create a country as or to have a nation focused on tourism, the only way to go and to succeed in the near future, in the mid future, and in the longest future is by creating a professional path when it comes to education. In education, I would like to ask some questions to you today. How many of you had some of the subjects that you had in high school or in kindergarten related to tourism? How many of you studied law, business, engineering, or maybe government and international affairs, and you had even the possibility of having an elective focused in tourism? How many of you have been searching something that has nothing to do with hospitality or hotel management? And I know that at least 1% of those that are in front listening to this speech today would say that maybe they had any approach. And that's the problem. We need to create a professional path. Since the kids are in kindergarten, so to explain the power of tourism, then when the teenagers are in high school, we need to involve them in social impact projects. We can give electives for them to work during the last years in tourism, in hospitality. Then when we are in the universities, if we want to study tourism, we need to be able to study not only hotel management. Of course, that's amazing. Of course, hospitality is amazing, but it's not the only thing that we need to study. We need to study, for example, data-driven decisions, digital marketing, data scientists specialized in tourism. We can artificial intelligence or deep technologies on tourism, transport in order to work in a top airline and to understand the airline business, because transport is part of tourism. The cruise industry is part of tourism. The trains and the railroads, the infrastructure, that is part of tourism as well. And then when it comes to manufacturing goods that are related to tourism, we need to understand the whole chain. And this is crucial to do it now. That's why in the UNWTO, we are partnering not only with the national governments, but also with the universities to help. For example, we have signed a letter of intent with the University of Lucerne, one of the top schools in Switzerland and in the world, of course, to help them to innovate and to help together and to collaborate together on the desired bachelor's that is needed when you study tourism. We are doing the same with different countries all around the world. We are trying to create the first international academy in Saudi Arabia that will be focused in tourism. We are working with the United Arab Emirates on their methodology and supporting their methodology to have tourism in high schools. We are creating, with the support of our UNWTO Education Committee, the first policy paper in order to help the governments and the national administrators on how to create public policies since the beginning of the education roadmap until the last part of that roadmap, that is lifelong learning, to include tourism as an economic sector, because we cannot forget that is one of the biggest economic sectors, that is one of the most important sectors when it comes to services exports, and of course that one of the most important things of tourism is that is really powerful when it comes to the contribution to employment, to the GDP, and of course to diversity. But we need to talk this, we need to be serious in the way we teach tourism and in the way we can bring opportunities to everyone, not only again on just a small part of the chain. The third part of our story, of course, is quality, and we need to create everything that can help us to bring quality to our environment, to update our professors, to create toolkits, to create new methodologies, and that those tools are able to all the professors and to the faculty. We are working to create a toolkit for the faculty of teachers in order to align efforts and to have an ABC on the basic ways or on the basics that everyone needs when it comes to tourism teaching. And last but not least, of course, added value jobs. We have the UNWTO Jobs Factory. That is a platform where you can find a job thanks to the power of artificial intelligence. And once you study in our academy, in the online academy, you are able to have job opportunities because nothing can be done if we just focus on the academic background, but then we don't cross it to, of course, the practical background. And finally, investments. In investments, of course, if you tell me what do I think about investments, I feel that the future of investments are two. The first part is venture capital. Remember that during the pandemic, tourism was one of the most affected sectors. Nonetheless, when it comes to venture capital investments, investment in technology, that was the only indicator from the touristic sector that remained stable. $22 billion were invested the last year in tourism startups. And thanks to this power, we have seen that more emerging entrepreneurs has been growing. That's incredible and that's amazing. And when you see the power of Africa, I just saw that in Africa, more than $200 million were invested in tourism startups last year. In Latin America, I saw that the power is that good that $400 million were invested in Latin America. And I'm just talking about the emerging markets. The mature markets as the US, China, and of course Europe are even huge because they today are in the phase where they are scaling up their solutions, and they have been able to adapt their solutions into new markets. So that's incredible. And I feel that focusing on attracting more venture investments and on creating new opportunities to those investors that haven't invested in tourism is part of our future. Inside the UNWTO, we offer four, again, programs. The first one is the UNWTO Data and Investment Guidelines. We have the general one that is created in collaboration with the Financial Times, and the other ones are created here in-house with the governments. We have created, this year we initiated this program, and we created the Dominican Republic Doing Business in Tourism Guideline, Colombia, Argelia, and then we are working on Tanzania, Mozambique, and with different countries in Latin America and in Europe, because we know that helping the governments and our member states to create their own investment guideline will help them to promote this voice with specific projects and, of course, with a very technical due diligence on the matter. Second of all, our investment forums as well to connect the public and the private sector for good. Third of all, green investments, as I already said. We have a program with the IFC to promote green hotel investments. As you know, after transport, the second subsector of tourism that has more emissions when it comes to tourism is the hotel sector or the hotel industry. So we're working with them in order to help the hotels to create a new certificate, the EDGE certificate, that is the sustainable certificate of the World Bank and of the IFC. And then after you get the certificate, you will be able to access to funds to rebuild your business plan into a more greener and sustainable business plan. And last but not least, of course, our investment network, where we are working with more than 300 investors to help them to seek for new opportunities. I remember that during COVID, we did a survey and 50% of our investors told us that they will keep investing in tourism. Nonetheless, they told us that they will focus on ESG projects, everything focused on environmental solutions, social impact, and of course, governance. So don't miss this opportunity. I wish you all the best, and I just want to encourage you to join us and to join all the programs that the UNWTO is running today for better, for the good of our society, and of course, for achieving our common agenda, that is the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia Biona. Now moving towards, before the Q&A session, moving towards here, there is our speaker. They have talked on sustainable tourism. Our first speaker, she talked about sustainable tourism, how it is for host tourism activities and how it should be promoted. How children between the age of 6 to 13, they meant to learn, not to earn. However, they are not the path of youth empowerment, but they are the beginning of the youth. Therefore, how tourism and its negative impact can affect the host countries and its children. Education and life skill and digitalization can empower the children who are being youth. In the second session, Mandy very well explained about SDG goals and youth awareness program. And Mandy focused as the way the youth program can be practiced, not only talked on the books. And by organizing different activities, our youth can be empowered, and also they can practice SDG goals. Thank you very much, Mandy, Mona, and Natalia. Thank you all of you for joining this session. There are a few announcements which I would like to make for your information. Announcement 1, the session recording will be made available at www.responsibleborneo.com, ICRTH 2022 program. E-certificate of attendance will be issued to delegates who complete a post-conference survey. Please find this survey at www.responsibleborneo.com, ICRTH 2022. The survey will be closed after 1 week. The another information is, for more information about ICRTH 2022 and other conference session, please visit www.responsibleborneo.com, ICRTH 2022 program. For any queries about ICRTH 2022, please feel free to contact us via ICRTH2022@responsibleborneo.com. Thank you very much. Thank you all the panel member, and thank you my co-host Vyasna. Now here I invite Vyasna to moderate Q&A session.